Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, before we get started, you will need to download the color palette, a custom brush, and a special font that we will be using in today's video. They are totally free to download. I have them linked in the description below. For the color palette, just double tap the file that downloads and it'll automatically open in Procreate and save it to your color palette so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. For your brush, you will open up your brush library, and then wherever you want to save the new brush to, maybe you have a special custom folder, go ahead and click the plus icon at the top and then click import and find the font wherever you saved it. And then for the font, a similar thing, you can add a layer of text. Click to edit your text, triple tap it, and then click this to open up the menu and click import font and find the font where you saved it. Alternatively, wherever the font is saved on your iPad, you can click on it, click to open it with Procreate, and it will import that way as well. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen here so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, here is the color palette that we are working with today. So our background color is going to stay white, but if you need to set it, you can go to your layer menu, and on this background color layer, you can click on that to open up the color palette and select the first color on the first row to fill it in with white. But we are going to draw our gingham checkerboard plaid kind of pattern on our layer 1 here. So we are going to set up a grid to help us out with this. So that's the first thing we'll do. So to do that, we are going to go to our gear icon under canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, and then click edit drawing guide. And we do have our grid here already, which is the first option, this 2D grid. But we need to have exactly 11 squares across or any other odd number. So I'm just going to increase the size quite a bit here until we get close to that. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll go down a little bit. And to get an odd number, you are going to have to move your grid a little bit. So it's always going to be even if our lines are perfectly on the edges. You're always going to have an even number. So I kind of just essentially want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now I have 10 across. And essentially, I just want to go down a little bit more until I have like another half square showing on each side. So like a half here and a half here. So I have 10 straight across, a half on each side makes 11. So now I just need to move it around. So I'm going to use this blue dot in the middle to move it down into the left a little bit so that I have, 11 top to bottom and 11 left to right. There's a teeny bit extra on the side here still, so I am going to increase it a little bit further until it's a little closer. So now if we have everything lined up in the corners, it is pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 across and 11 up and down. So that's where we want to set it, or any other odd number that you want to use. My grid size ended up being on 275 pixels. So that is a size that you can type in as well instead of messing around with it. But once you have your grid laid out, we are just going to go ahead and click done. Okay, and again, we are going to be on layer 1. We are going to grab the second color on the top row. And we are going to grab our selection tool with rectangle and color fill turned on. And essentially, I am just going to drag a big, long, skinny rectangle covering every other one of these sets of squares. So I'm just going to start at the top. I'm going to skip this first one. I'm going to start right outside of my canvas, right where this line starts. Draw down and to the right, all the way off the bottom of our screen, and then right just far enough to touch our other line, and then let that go. So now we have one big pink stripe. Click my selection tool to turn it off, click it to turn it back on, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll skip the next row, make another one, They don't have to be perfect, so if you get way too far off, you can undo it and draw it again. But if you're, if it's pretty close, that is good enough. And boom, so now we have them done all the way across, and that's why we did an odd number, was so that we would have a white space on each side. If you did an even number, you would end up with a white on the left side and a pink on the right side. So that is where the odd number comes in handy. And now to get our other set that's going horizontal, we don't have to draw those again. We are just going to go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Click the arrow tool, and we are just going to click rotate 45 degrees twice, and then if we need to drag it around at all, you can. Okay, so now to get it to look more gingham-like, where the squares that intersect are darker and the other squares are lighter, we are going to mess around with our layers here. So open up your layer menu, and let's just start with our bottom layer here that has our vertical lines. Click the N on this layer to open up these settings and drag the opacity down to like 65%. Okay, same thing on our next layer. Find that layer with our horizontal lines, click the N to open up our menu and drag that again down to 65%. So now they're a little bit lighter where they're alone, and then where they overlap, they're a little bit darker, but not quite dark enough. So to make them a little bit darker in the center, we are going to now drag this layer style up to multiply. So now where our layers overlap, they get quite a bit darker, and that looks a lot better. So that is the look that we're going for. So now we can go ahead and turn off our grid. So go to the gear icon and click to turn off the drawing guide. And this is the pattern that we're left with. Awesome. So now we'll go straight into drawing our stamp. So let's go ahead and add a new layer on our layer menu. Grab the first color on the second row of our color palette. And again, we are going to grab our selection tool with rectangle and color fill turned on. And we're going to make a nice rectangle, more vertical than horizontal, but nothing, too skinny or anything. So roughly something about like this. So if you're going size-wise, I am about halfway through this first pink horizontal row, halfway through this bottom pink horizontal row, and then I'm a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares over roughly. Click our arrow tool, and then we can switch to freeform, and you can make some more adjustments to your shape if you need to. And then the main thing that we want to do is go ahead and turn on snapping in the bottom left and snap it to the very center of our screen, both horizontally and vertically. So you should see 2 yellow lines like so. And that means that we're directly in the center of the screen. Okay, now to get our stamp edge shape with like the little holes cut out of it, we are going to use the special brush that you downloaded, but we are going to use it as an eraser. So the first thing we're going to do is turn on Symmetry to make this easier, so we only have to do a little bit at a time and our whole shape is symmetrical, and that is again why we had to snap it to the center of the screen. So to turn on Symmetry, we're going to go to our gear icon under Canvas again, click to turn the drawing guide back on, and then click Edit Drawing Guide and switch it to Symmetry. You should see a vertical line pop up, but we actually want to use quadrant symmetry. So under the options menu down here, go ahead and click on quadrant, and then go ahead and click done. Now we just want to make sure that this layer that we're on says assisted on our layer menu. So make sure it does. If it does not, click on it and turn on drawing assist. And now we're going to grab our eraser tool, open it up so that we can find our special brush, this big dots brush that you should have downloaded. So again, we're under our eraser though. I am going to set that to about 80%. And essentially, we are just going to erase these holes on the side of our stamp. So I'm just going to start on this top right corner here on the right side So a little bit down from the top of our corner. We don't want to erase our corner. We want our corner to stay intact. So just a little bit down from that. Touch your canvas and draw a line straight down towards the center. Hold it down when you get close to the center so it turns into a perfectly straight line. Touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly vertical, and then go ahead and line it up where you would like. So we do want there to be a nice space right in the center where our lines kind of come together on our symmetry line. So we want the same distance here as we have here, so we don't want to go too far in. We don't want to go too close together. Just kind of right perfectly there so they line up nicely. Let that go. You can click the line button on top to edit it further. The main thing is we do want to just make sure our holes are lined up nicely on the edge here. So if yours ended up too far in or too far out, you can go ahead and drag those in nicely to where about half of our circle is showing, like so. Then go ahead and go back to our eraser tool and we'll do the same thing on the top and bottom now. So we'll start on the bottom, we'll start in a little bit from the corner so that we don't erase our corner. And again, draw towards the center, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Go ahead and line them up where you would like. And then again, you can click the line button on top to adjust them if you need to drag them around at all. So that is how we get our nice like edge for our stamp shape. So now we will draw the inside portion of our stamp. So the first thing that we'll do is draw another rectangle of a similar shape in our darker red color. So that will be on a new layer on our layer menu at the top. Grab our next dark red color, the second one on the second row. Grab our selection tool again with rectangle and color fill turned on, and I'm just going to start a little bit inside of the corner here on the top left and draw a nice shape down, kind of trying to keep it even all the way around. Go ahead and let that go. Then you can click your arrow tool and first of all center it again on our two yellow lines, and again you can adjust your shape a little bit if you need to, and then just make sure if you adjust your shape at all to recenter it. Okay, now we'll go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this rectangle layer we just created, be on our top one here, grab our white color, the first color on the top row, and drag and drop to fill that in. Click our arrow tool, and then we will just decrease the size a bit and recenter it so that we kind of get a nice little border of our dark red color. Try to make it even all the way around, so set it to freeform and adjust the shape, either way if necessary. We don't want it like, skinnier on the sides or anything than on the top and bottom. So something about like this. Okay, and now we will add our text that says love letter. So to do that, we will go to our gear icon, click add, and click add text. It'll automatically add it on a new layer. Our text automatically pops up selected, so let's take this moment to just change the color of it. So click your color picker in the top right and click the first color on the last row, the black. And then we will click our keyboard down here, do all caps, do L, and then return, and then VE on the bottom. So we are going to leave room for our heart to be on the top right there next to the L. So now I will triple tap it, and then I will click this button here to open up our font selector, and we will select the font for our love, which is going to be Baskerville, which is a standard Procreate font. We're going to set it to semi-bold, and then we can increase the size a bit. We can increase the tracking a little bit so there's a little more space between our V and our E. And we can decrease the leading a little bit in between our lines. Okay, once you have it at a good kind of size and stuff, which my size is at about 130 points, my tracking is at about 5.6, and my leading is at about -30. And then we will grab our arrow tool and we will just place them nicely here. You can increase the size a little bit further with just, on uniform as well, like so. And we'll just position this at the top of our white rectangle here, roughly in the center. Okay, and then now we just need to move our L around. So there was no good way to do it with our text. I tried adding spaces and stuff and it didn't really work out the way that I wanted it to. So to move our L, we are just going to grab our selection tool, set it to freehand with color fill turned off, and we're just going to select around our L. Click the arrow tool, it will say your text layers are rasterized. That just means that we can't edit the text anymore in terms of the font or the text itself. We can still change sizes and stuff like that. But now we're just going to drag the L pretty much straight to the left here so it's positioned right above our V, like so. So again, now if you click the arrow tool, it's still all on the same layer and everything. You can still resize it and stuff. So now we will add the heart on a new layer. So let's go to our layer menu, add a new layer. Still on our black color here. And we are going to make a perfect heart by using symmetry again. So first we need to edit the symmetry. We don't want quadrant anymore. We just want vertical. So we'll go to the gear icon under canvas, click to edit the drawing guide. We already have symmetry selected, but we'll just switch it to vertical. And then I am going to use this blue dot to drag the line over to the right a little bit, right about centered on this area here where our heart will be. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can move the heart around later, but just roughly there so that we can draw there. Go ahead and click done. And then on our layer menu here, we just need to turn symmetry on for this layer. So click on it and turn on drawing assist, and it should say assisted underneath. We are going to use the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab for this. I have it set to about 50%. I'm just going to zoom in here. The first thing we're going to do is just draw a circle to the right of our symmetry line. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle. Click the circle button at the top to edit it, and you can change the size by touching in between the two blue dots and dragging it out and back in to change the size, and then we can move them around as well. So we just kind of want to move them to where they're touching and maybe even overlapping a little bit in the center. And this will be the top part of our heart. Okay, and we can resize the whole thing later as well. So just make it roughly about the size that you think you'll want it. And then we'll grab our pen tool again, and we will start on the bottom right side of this circle here and draw a line to the center. Hold it down till it turns perfectly straight and meets nicely in the center there, like so. Then we can click the line button at the top, and the main thing we want to do is make sure that this is nicely like nestled into the side of our circle here, so it just transitions nicely. There's no bump or anything. And then if you need to make these meet up nicer at the bottom, you can change the angle and length of the line as well. So I'm just going to have mine meet nicely like so. And then we can go ahead and fill in the shape. Okay, awesome. So now we can click our arrow tool, and again, if you need to resize it or reshape it at all, you can do so, and just kind of try to place it nicely right above our E, kind of in line with our L as well, to fill that whole space out like so. So now our heart is actually going to be pink with a black outline to make it look more like an O. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, make a duplicate of this heart layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate, be on the top one, grab our pink color, the second one on the bottom row, and drag and drop to fill that in. Click our arrow tool on uniform and drag the size down a bit and kind of reposition it on our heart here, roughly in the center, from top to bottom and from left to right. And then as you can see, it gets a lot thicker on our sides in the top corners, and we don't want that. So we're going to click our arrow tool, set it to warp, and each one of these corners now, we're going to just drag up and out a little bit at an angle to kind of fill in this shape a little bit better, like so. To make it just a little bit more even. Awesome. So if you need to do any more resizing, go ahead and do so. I might make mine a little bit smaller and reposition it there. Okay, so that looks good. That is it for our love portion of our text. So now we are going to make the letter portion, which is going to be in our special font that we downloaded. So we are just going to, again, no need to add a new layer, just click the gear icon under add, click add text. It'll pop up at the top there. It filled in with the pink color that I had selected, but let's go ahead and switch that to black again. So select black from our color palette. And then click our keyboard here. And I'm going to turn the caps off so it's all lowercase L-E-T-T-E-R. Then I'm just going to click my arrow tool and drag it down so that I can see it better. So it's going to just be right under our word love here. Tap on it and double tap to select it. And then click our font area to open up our font menu and find our special font that we downloaded, which is called Hello Honey. So it should be in there for you. And then we do want it to be longer, but we don't want to increase the tracking for this. Since it is a script font, we want the letters to still be connected. So leave tracking at 0, but we can increase the size a little bit. So I have mine at about 80 points. And then I'm going to click my arrow tool instead to stretch it out a little bit. So I'm going to switch it to freeform and just stretch the word out from left to right a little bit to kind of fill in this area here. Make sure it's nicely centered there. And that is it for that part. So now we are going to draw the arrow at the bottom. So first we are going to make a duplicate of our pink heart layer. So go to your layer menu, find the pink heart layer, slide to the left and hit duplicate. Whichever one pops up now, go ahead and grab it. And we are going to rotate it 45 degrees twice. We're going to drag it down to this bottom left corner here, set it to uniform and downsize it a bit. So this is going to be the point of our arrow. So just find a good spot for it down here and a good size for it. Okay, now we're going to make just the long part in the middle, which will be black. We're going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer, drag it below the point of our arrow here. We are on our black color, the first one on the third row, on our monoline brush still on about 50%. And we are going to draw a straight line coming out of our arrow here. So I'm going to start behind it in the middle, draw a line straight down, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. I'll end it roughly about here to leave room for the tails of my arrow. Go ahead and click the line button at the top to edit it, and the main thing I want to do is just move it around until it's roughly centered on my heart here at the front, like so. Okay, then we'll go to our layer menu and we'll add a new layer above this one, and we'll switch back to our pink color, the second one on the bottom row. Same monoline brush at 50%, and we are going to use Symmetry again for this now, but we are going to change it once more. So we are going to go to the gear icon under Canvas, click to edit the drawing guide, and we are going to switch it first to horizontal symmetry so that we can mirror our tails from top to bottom when we draw them. And then we are going to drag this line down to kind of be roughly in the center of our black line here. Get as close as you can, like so, and then click done. Okay, now on this layer, we need to turn on Drawing Assist again, so click on it and turn on Drawing Assist so it says Assisted here. So with our pink color and our monoline brush, I am going to start first at the very end of my black line here, right on my horizontal symmetry line, and draw out and to the right. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to find an angle. So whichever angle you would like, I will pick probably this one, which I think is a perfect 45-degree angle. It's 3 up from horizontal right there. Make it as long as you would like, nothing too crazy, and then let it go. Then we'll start in a little bit on our black line, right on our center again, and draw another one, mirroring the first one. Find the same angle so that they're like parallel lines. Make it roughly the same length as well. And then if you need to, you can click edit line this time and you can drag it around. You can drag it a little further down. So mine was a little too close to it. So I'm just going to drag it down, make sure it looks nice. And then grab my brush once more and do the same thing a little further in again. Hold it down, touch my finger to the screen, try to match the length. And then again, it's just a little too close. I'm just going to drag it a little bit further down, like so. So that is it for our arrow. These tails are a little too big, so I'm going to click my arrow tool to select them on uniform, drag them down in size a little bit, and then just kind of reposition them. So make any adjustments that you need to. I'm done with symmetry now, so I'm just going to turn that off. So in the gear icon under canvas, just click to turn off the drawing guide so we don't have to look at it anymore. And then the last step for today is just to add a shadow behind our stamp to just make it pop a little bit. So to do that, we're going to go to our layer menu, find our original red layer that we did our cutouts on, slide to the left and hit duplicate, select the bottom one, grab our next color, the third one on the bottom row, and drag and drop to fill it in. You won't see it because it's behind our red one, but you should see on your layer menu that it is a different color. On your layer menu on this layer, click the N to open up our options and drag it up to multiply to create a nice shadow color. Click the wand icon, Gaussian blur, and drag this up to maybe 15 to 20% somewhere in there. So we just get a nice little shadow behind it, nothing too crazy, but just kind of helps it pop from the background a little bit. If you want it to be a little bit darker, you can go to your layer menu and make a duplicate of this shadow layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. And as you can see, it gets a lot darker. If that's too dark for you, you can always open up the options on one of them and drag the opacity down to like 50%. So now you just kind of have like 1.5 layers of the shadow. So mess around with that until you like the way that it looks. But otherwise, that is it for our drawing today. So I hope you had fun. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more tutorials from me in the future. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.